Hey friends, sad tidings, isn't it? That Sinead OConnor has died, and I wanted to share with you her astrology chart. So welcome. I am Nitya with Karma Chameleon, and this is where we look at the BaZi Chinese Astrology of celebrities and famous people to better understand our own astrology. We also talk about feng shui and flying stars feng shui. So if this is something you're interested in, please subscribe and follow and join this community. Thank you. Sinead OConnor was born in Ireland, December 8th, 1966 at 7:37 a.m. And one of the things I have to say right off the bat is her chart very much mirrors my own. And I have to say that the people I have met who are born in 1966, like myself, are pretty special people. It is the year of a Yang fire horse. And every person I have met born in my year, we are spitfires. We are forces to be reckoned with. We are spontaneous and passionate and creative and a lot of energy. She also, like me, is born on the day of an ox, though her element is yin metal. And her month is yang metal rat. Her hour, if it is actually accurate, at 7:37 a.m. Several sources said it is yang water dragon. Now this is interesting. I love looking at the hour because it really does speak to your career and your children. And she has several children. And one of her sons died by suicide in 2022. And I didn't read any of her history. Sometimes I prefer not to. But suffice it to say that the placement of the yang water for the placement of her sons shows it as the actual placement for sons. And this is like a really dear connection for her. It's a direct nourishment. Now, when you look at her daughters, you see that it's the dragon is the mother. And this is a deeply maternal, nurturing, loving relationship. I bet she was an amazing mother. And rooted in that is the father. Maybe she was playing two roles, mother and father here, to some extent. And rooted in there is the placement for a daughter. And it feels like a beautiful family that she made and was aligned for her, being born when she was born. When we then take the hour, you can look at the hour as your younger siblings and also your children and your career. As her career, this is something that was revolutionary. I'm coupling this with the fact that she is a fire horse. And fire horse ox people, oh my God, we are, I must want to say, doomed to burn out because we don't know when to stop. We don't know when to stop. We go, we go, we go. Somebody comes along and says, hey, can you do something more? We do something more. It's very hard to say no. It's very hard to not say it's time to quit. We push ourselves very, very hard. Our work ethic is superhuman, truly, truly. So anyway, coupling all this, I will say that this woman came into her career to change her world, possibly to change the world around her. Is anybody not been affected by her song, Nothing Compares to You, written by Prince? Anybody? Oh my God, I so remember that video and how haunting it was. The black and white, the close-up of her face, the rawness of her emotion that she's feeling. I mean, you want to cry with her. So there is this revolutionary aspect, and she's smart and intuitive in her work. And we bring in the dragon. The dragon is a leader. The dragon is a force. It is magnetic. It is the only animal in the Chinese zodiac that is not of this world. And either was she. Pause there, yeah. Let's take a breath. Yeah. And I think that what she brought into her career was a goddess-like energy, a spiritual energy, a faith in it. But it's also, there are legal aspects that maybe were conflicting for her. You know, she pushed an envelope. When you push, things push back. And in all of this, there is rooted money. There is love, but also there is a caution to her health. But ultimately, she really loved what she was creating and doing. But the overarching message with her work is smart, intuitive, and a trailblazer, an innovator, a creator. She's a very creative person. And she was a force to be reckoned with. This was a fighter. And, yes, a good, strong fighter. And I'm sure she could be manipulative. I'm sure she's not somebody that you would have wanted to have had an argument with. But she was also passionate, competitive, driven. What else can I say about this beautiful soul that has left us way too soon? I know. Somebody who really, I mean, not only an artist, but somebody that appreciates art and appreciates everything in the world that is beautiful. She lived life wide open. Wide open. Arms wide open, face to the sun. That kind of an energy. That was Sinead OConnor. Yeah. Let's take another breath for that. So, this is somebody with a water pattern in her chart that had two semi-water trios, a traditional and a seasonal, with her rat and her ox and the rat and her dragon. Now, I can tell you, rats and horses, every time I've gotten involved in work, in friendships, rat people, oh my God, they grate me. They grate me. It literally is like somebody taking a grater against my skin. So having that placement in her month, I wonder how her relationship with her parents was. Though her mother shows up as somebody who might have been fun, was more like a daughter to her. Her father shows up as a harm to the father, but also somebody that really was, they shared an awful lot in common, though they showed each other sides of each other that maybe were positive, maybe not so positive. But there is this clash between the horse and the rat that challenges the pattern of her chart of water with fire. And so when you look at the elements, her fire is balanced at 21%. Her earth, what nourishes her, balanced at 16%. Her own element of metal, balanced at 23%. Now we get to the water. And water is strong, very strong at 38%. And her wood is weak at 3%. Very little wood. Wood is the liver. The liver, the gallbladder. It is, I'm trying to remember. It's like, you know how you think of something like how a word is spelled and then all of a sudden you're like, but it's, yeah, the liver. It's looking at, anger comes to mind with the liver when it's out of balance. And I myself have no wood in my chart. And it took a journey of yoga and becoming a yoga teacher to lay my own anger down and transform it into something useful. Yeah, it can happen. It can happen. Anger has a purpose in this world, for sure. But how it's used, that takes some wisdom. Yeah. So we've got a chart that's slightly imbalanced, though when you look at it, there's a lot of balanced elements here. The fact that water is so strong and wood is weak, there's still some support, definite support for the wood element. It's not like it's totally left out there on its own. Let's see. What else can I tell you? So I thought it was interesting that when her platinum album with the song Nothing Compares to You comes out, I think we all had that on cassette tape, right? That was her luck cycle that was 1986 to 1996. So this is ages about 19 to 28. Yang, water, tiger period. So what is happening? This is interesting because when the element that's essentially missing shows up, then our chart kind of becomes this full-flowing source of chi, which is what we want. We don't want to be going around and plunk. Nothing's there. What do? We go around to the next element. It's like we don't want such an imbalance. And it's great when that shows up, and it does for her. If you look at her luck cycles, even into the current one, that missing wood element is there. But what changed? What changed? So speaking of change, this luck cycle from 19 to 28, sons were predicted, having a son or multiple sons. And was time of a revolution for her. In Ireland, I remember U2, the band, there was a lot of energy around Ireland. And I don't know all the history, but I just remember that piece. And so it was like a lot of change, a rebellion happening for her. And again, she's using this not from a place of ignorance, but great wisdom. And this is when she's traveling. She's making money. Interesting to see somebody so young kind of hit a peak, like a shooting star. And within the tiger, there is this nugget of the mother. And there's also legal issues. You've got all kinds of contracts she's signing and things happening. And there's the family being built. The nest egg is there. And there's also marriage or romantic relationships. But it's also her career. And this feels like really somebody that took off and took off fast. We come into the next luck cycle when she's now 29 to 38. This is 1996. It's a yin water rabbit. which is actually the same as this year, 2023. It surged in a semi-wood trio, which is beneficial. But the rat and the rabbit create a penalty of strange interactions, people that appear one way and turn on you. It can be people that are very harmful. It can lead to things like legal problems. And we know that her career was up and down, that she had a lot of issues with maybe pushing things too far. But what's too far, right? If you are that person that comes into this world to wage your own revolution, what is too far, right? Sometimes we do have to push to the point of breaking things in order for laws to change. Look at Greta Thunberg. My God, we should do her chart, huh? What a revolutionary spirit that child is. Also with the rabbit, her hour, which is her kids and her career here, there's a harm between the rabbit and the dragon that tanks, weakens that big, that is weakening her earth. It's weakening her support system. This is a time when daughters were predicted, love affairs, making money indirectly, which means it's coming from different resources, and health issues. And what it really feels like is a lot of her support is pulled back. And even though she's active and she's engaged in her creative projects and enjoying all of that, at the same time, there is this penalty with relationships. And it feels problematic. So then we come into her ages 39 to 48. And we are in 2006. Yang Wood Dragon. So now we're going head to head with her own dragon in the hour. It's interesting, isn't it, how much of her life is focused on the hour she was born. Isn't that, I find it interesting in that, what happens if she had been born 2 hours earlier or 2 hours later, right? Very different person. So then we have this surge of, again, travel, money, property. Things feel like a big surge again. We see again the mother. This is another piece that flows like a continuum. This focus on the role of mother, of the goddess. But also in this, there is laws, legalities, contracts, things like that. And her daughter mentioned, and again, we have this underground seed of money coming from different resources, question of her health, and question of her romances, and, you know, what was going on with love affairs and things like that. But this period feels overall pretty cool. And we look at the dragon is going to surge in more water. It's going to surge in more creative energy for her to get into the studio and make more music. And then we come to the period that she was in now, ages 49 to 58. A yin wood snake brings in a different flavor. Now, again, we've got the wood. The wood is, again, mentioning health, mentioning love, money coming in from other resources. The yang fire speaks to her career, and it speaks very strongly of family, of somebody that is in the prime of life and taking care of all the things The snake with her horse surges more fire. So there is a lot of focus on her career and also on money. So there's a lot that's pulling away from her. Seeing her, there's a little seed in there of metal that's asking her to see herself from a different place. There is, again, the seed of the mother woven in this luck cycle. And so we have all these pieces, and it really is a puzzle. When you have suicide, I think for most of us, it plagues us with questions that will never be answered. That will never be answered. Sometimes it's clear when you look at the astrology, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. The day she died, the year a yin water rabbit, the day of yin earth sheep, and the month of the yin earth sheep, and the day of yin wood rooster. Now, to say the combinations are interesting. Again, we've got the rabbit and the dragon form a harm that reduces earth and surges in wood. And again, earth is what supports her. We have a full fire trio with the snake of the luck cycle, the month that she died of the sheep, and her own horse year. So we've got a lot of fire surging in. We also have a metal trio that's surging in with the snake, the rooster, that's the day that she died, and her own ox. We've again got the rabbit-rat punishment of relationships that become detrimental, that can be harmful, that get weird, just very strange, bizarre behaviors. The rat and the sheep form a harm that weakens water, which is her pattern. And her own day of the ox is smacked with the sheep of July, which is another thing that is weakening water. Now, it can also weaken fire, but the fact that there's a fire trio wipes that out. And so you've got two influences pulling at her water pattern, which is interesting. And then you have, on top of that, this weird situation with the rat and the rabbit. Her own support being weakened. And so then, we come to looking at the wood that is surging in, feeding the fire, and the metal. And these pieces, when you look at fire and metal together, that can be a car accident. It can be a gunshot. Something, we don't know how she died, but there can be these different fractured pieces. Almost like if something is cracked and you just add the right amount of pressure, it gives way. I wanted to mention her life pillar of a yin earth ox, which means that she lived by her life journey, and it is all about spirit. This was a woman on a spiritual journey. Her daughter is rooted in that story, and also herself. And with herself comes sisters and people in her sisterhood and her dearest friends. This is someone who, it's almost like, always had her guardians and her guides and her angels with her always. There is, for me, no clear moment of looking at this and saying it is this element or that element or this combination of things. I think this feels like enough things fractured, and that sheep banging up against her ox, it's pretty intense. It's so important that we recognize how we are in community. And I'm the kind of person that if you're following me and I wind up doing your BaZi Chinese Astrology, or I wind up feng shuiing your house, you are always, always with me. I just had a cardinal fly at the window. Wow. Spirit is speaking all the time, my friends. Suicide is, that's a hard one. Let's take a breath around that. Thank you. Be well.